So the black flags have been raised over Syria. You can see the footage behind me. I'm sure you've been seeing the videos all over social media. People driving through the streets and different people waving flags and very sketchy looking people with long beards. We're not going to say who those are. Taking credit for bringing down the regime. Regime is our favorite word for the governments we don't like. We don't call governments we like regimes, but anyway. And the footage we've been seeing is very interesting because this is what happens when you take down the government. Everyone's been speaking for the Syrian people and saying this is what they wanted. Assad was a dictator, which he was. But anyone that doesn't want him to be overthrown by foreign-sponsored head-chopping, terrorists are Assadists, and you support dictators all over the world. Even people on the left, which is quite funny because these people don't see the world in context. They just see the world as that is objectively a dictator, and so we have to get rid of him because if we claim to like democracy, getting rid of this dictator will bring about democracy. But if you actually think about it again, when I made the video last time, I always brought it back to the countries we live in the West. If you have a government you don't like, if you live in America or you live in the UK like I do you want some foreign sponsor? Do you want Chinese-backed rebels to remove your government? Is that what you really want? Is that going to bring about democracy? And so as we see Syria collapse, Israel's invaded it from, I don't know if it's the West, or I'm not sure about the demographic of the geography of the place, but Israel's invaded it from one side, Turkey from the other side. The country is going to be balkanized, and the country is right now in serious collapse. What people don't reflect on, and I think it's very easy to forget about it, when we see these Middle Eastern countries, they always just look like carnage, right? Everything's always seems to be going wrong. Bombings. I have a philosophical theory about how our brains, as people that live in the West, are primed to see these countries like this. We can't really imagine these countries just functioning like, normally. So if we take, for example, if in the UK we were being bombed, even if it's just one bomb a day on average, the kind of terror that's going to seize the streets, it will cause so much bedlam and chaos. But this is what these countries are subjected to, regularly. Syria's been bombed by many countries in the past. The US bombed it, the UK bombed it. Israel's been bombing Syria for the past couple of years. And this is just pretty normal. And so when you have a situation like this now, if you're an average person living in Syria, I guess you just have an average business. And your business is like, people bring stuff in and then you sell it at the market, you get some profits, you use it to buy new stuff. What does your supply line look like now? Now that jihadis have taken over the government, what is the import-export system? What's the customs looking like? Who's paying people's salaries? There's a video of the central bank being looted. People need dollars, for example, to buy foreign goods and import and export. Is that still going to be happening? Are the teachers going to still be paid? Are the schools going to still be working? What's what happens to the national grid, the electrical system? All these things that normal everyday people think about. Do you really think this is improved by foreign-sponsored jihadis taking over the government? Obviously not. So I think it's a very sad state of affairs. Another country is going to approach rapid collapse, and right now people in the West seem to be, our governments have been pretty quiet about it. I'm sure they're celebrating it for the most part. But what we might see now is another migrant crisis, for example, because when you destroy people's countries, where else should they go? They deserve to come to your country because you're the one that destroyed their country. That's the same thing we see in the US, for example, when they're talking about migrant caravans and all these people from South America. I'm going to do a video on the Monroe Doctrine, which basically talks about how the US asserts the right to basically meddle and destroy any government they want in South America because it's their sphere of influence and their backyard, as they call it. If you destroy someone's country, yeah, they should take refuge in your country because you're the one that destroyed theirs. If you don't want people to leave their countries and come to yours, leave their countries alone.